I'm Primitive Tim, and this is a story of how I've made it this far in my journey to escape the living dead.
It was just a normal day hanging out, watching TV.
That sucks.
I decided I'd do something productive. So I went down the driveway to check the mail. According to news reports, this wasn't an isolated incident, so I set out to the countryside, where I figured things would be a little more calm. I drove and drove until I ran out of gas. And from there on out, I was to travel by foot. I found a place on the edge of a state forest, so I figured this would be a good place, far from chaos. Upon arriving, it looked vaguely familiar, but nobody was there. It was deserted. Not wanting to break into the house, I opted to check out the barn first. I entered cautiously and looked around for a little bit, exploring the possible uses for anything. I found exactly what I needed. There was a firearm in the rafters. This lifted my spirits some. There was a little ammunition to be found, so I got to work making my own. Tucked up on the top shelf was a handgun. I figured I could use this as backup if it came to that. My unorthodox ammunition seemed to work pretty well. I headed out into the forest to check out the availability of game and to forage some. This is when it found me. I ran back to the barn, and now it was time to fight. At last, victory. Unfortunately, I had run out of gunpowder, so I could no longer depend on firearms. I had to revert to more primitive methods. I could tell from the draw that this was going to be a sweet shooter. After a few days, I decided to head out into the wilderness, where I could escape my problems. However, my problems were just different. Hunting and foraging proved not as successful as I had hoped. kept my hands and my mind occupied with making primitive equipment, and this helped some, but I still needed food and I still needed sleep. I knew fire would boost my morale, so I set out to make a fire by friction. As it turns out, this is no easy task. I drilled and drilled until I was about to fatigue. But finally, it appeared I had a coal. I nurtured that little coal. And finally, it became flame. This felt so good, but I was too tired to show any emotion. Fire made me feel safe and secure, but it was time to bed down for the night.
Been out here for days and days. I haven't slept. I always have to be alert. Otherwise they come out of nowhere. But I'm at a point where if I don't sleep, I'll just die.